And as usual, for everyone to know that this call is being recorded and we place our recording on our YouTube channel. So if you're not comfortable, please drop off now. And this call is being attended by our customers, partner, as well as Microsoft team members. And today we have Kumar, who is going to be talking about Azure Virtual Desktop. Kumar, floor is yours, man. Take it away. I think you're on mute.
Good morning, good afternoon. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yeah, you're fine then.
Okay, great.
Good.
So a little bit about me. My name is Kumar Alan Raju. I'm a cloud solutions architect. Been with Microsoft close to 2.5 years. I'm part of apps and infrastructure team. Primarily work with customers on developing HADR architectures, data center migrations. And the last year and a half had opportunities to work on Azure VDA offerings as well. So here's the agenda for today's session. I believe I was chatting with Naveed as well. I think a year and a half ago, he presented Windows Virtual Desktop. So I just wanted to take 5 minutes to give a brief overview of Azure Virtual Desktop, and then focus on the main topics, which is the new features that we have recently introduced and some of the public preview features that we have, and followed by some demos. So what is it? The first thing is, we have a new name. So when we launched Windows Virtual Desktop a couple of years ago, no one predicted a global pandemic, right? That would force thousands of workers to leave the office and work from home or remotely. Organizations around the world kind of mitigated, also migrated, or actually they're migrating now their important apps and data to the cloud infrastructure, right? And to support remote workforce, many customers have looked to cloud native solutions. And Azure is the only one who had a cloud native VDA offering called Azure Virtual Desktop. It used to be called Windows Virtual Desktop initially. So to help our customers and partners meet these new hybrid work demands, we have expanded our vision to become a more flexible cloud VDA platform to address every use case on any device, accessible from any device, whether it's Windows or web-based or Android or iOS, right? So that's the vision of Microsoft's VDA offering called Azure Virtual Desktop. So just to give a brief overview of Azure Virtual Desktop, it's a cloud-born, runs on Microsoft Azure Cloud, right? And then when I said modern VDA platform, it needs to be fully secure, scalable, and easy to manage. And most importantly, customers want it to be cost effective while delivering a seamless high performance experience to the end users, right? It should also empower organizations with the flexibility to build custom solutions with its core technology, right? So as you see, in addition to personal desktops, Azure Virtual Desktop is the only offering that provides a multi-session desktop offering on Windows 10, right? As the name indicates, multi-session means multiple users or sessions can log into the same virtual machine. And that's where our customers find it very cost effective. In multi-session desktops, the users are not tied to a particular virtual machine. At the same time, the user's profile is seamlessly stored in an external location. So the next day when the user comes in, he might be logging into a different desktop, but his user profile is still there. So there is no difference between one virtual machine to the virtual machine. It's completely taken care for you by Microsoft on your behalf. So that's where Azure Virtual Desktop really shines well. And on top of it, anytime we talk about a cloud solution, uh, you know, uh, customers don't need to worry about the high availability and resilience of the service, right? It's fully managed by Microsoft, right? So the customers have to focus on managing this, managing their infrastructure, the security, and everything like typical virtual machines. They don't have to worry about managing the really infrastructure or buying the hardware and software beforehand, right? It's like pay as you go. Whenever your demands change, we can scale up and scale down. That's where our customers find it very, very cost effective. And on top of it, Azure Virtual Desktop is fully integrated into the Azure ecosystem. You can provision Azure Virtual Desktop using your favorite tools, whether it's Azure Portal, CLI interface, or PowerShell. And recently, you can fully automate it using Azure DevOps or Terraform, and the list goes on. And you can use Bicep as well. That's a new infrastructure as a code offering from Microsoft, right? So we have several tools available to simplify the provisioning process, at the same time completely managing in terms of the dashboards, monitoring and everything, which which I will cover in the subsequent slide. Last but not least, customers want an option to deploy and scale this infrastructure, right? Because the situation is very demand during the peak time, the holiday period, so they wanted more infrastructure, but during the off-peak hours, they wanted to scale back. So all these things are completely provided as part of a managed offering from Azure Virtual Desktop. So I just wanted to quickly show you how the connection flow looks like. As you could see here, it consists of three components. One is the end users. They can come on any device, whether it's a web-based or Android or Apple or Windows, right? And the middle is where Microsoft is a platform as a service offering. We take care of the brokering, high availability, the diagnostics, the metadata and everything. That is what I meant by platform as a service offering. And on the right hand side, you see the customer's Azure subscription, and that's where they'll be deploying VDIs, whether it's a personal desktops or pool desktops, storage accounts, whatnot, right? And as you could see here, IT administrators can publish personal desktops or remote apps in the form of something like host pools. Host pools is a collection of identical virtual machines that support a specific workload, right? And the end users can connect to these the desktops using their favorite clients. And that's what is in the left-hand side. Any questions so far? Moving on, so this is what I plan to talk about it, but I don't know in given a half-hour time, I may or may not be able to cover, but I'll do my best to cover some of those things. So the first one is start VM on Connect, right? So this feature lets customers save on compute costs by allowing their end users to turn on the VMs on demand only when you need them. In the past, some administrator had to make sure that they turn off the VMs at the end of the day and then turn them back on. And based on the customer's feedback, we have recently introduced this feature, and that when you are done for the day, you will sign out of the session. The VMs can be deallocated. Next day, when the user comes in, they can just connect to the desktop. It's as simple as that. And obviously, since you are starting the VM on demand, it might take anywhere from 2 to 5 minutes, but it's still advantageous because you are able to connect to your desktops on demand. This is not like a typical RDP session where you have an IP address or a FQDN, you are able to connect to it. But whenever you request a session, the brokering service from Microsoft takes care of it and it launches the virtual machine. So just to quickly show you the way it looks like is So as you could see, this user is subscribed to several workspaces. This virtual machine is not currently running, and the user comes in next day, and then he will just try to launch the virtual machine. And as you could see, it is demigods may not cooperate every day. One sec. Yeah, you see, it's starting the remote PC, right? And it might take anywhere from 2 to 5 minutes, but this is the on-demand. So customers are charged only when the VM starts running. The clock ticks in when the VM is ready to start, right? Until that time, they're only paying for the storage, but not for the compute. This is the optimization that we have recently introduced to make this VDA offering more cost effective. And a lot of customers have given a very positive feedback about this feature. Okay, so I'll let the DM running startup, but that's fine. I'll move on. So the next one I wanted to touch upon is, Azure AD integration with Azure Virtual Desktop. So when we first released this VDA offering a couple of years ago, the customers have asked why Microsoft is really, asking us to go back to these on-premise domain controllers, right? So since then, our engineering has worked on implementing this Azure AD integration for Azure Virtual Desktop. The other thing is they also wanted to kind of manage these manage these devices using Microsoft Endpoint Manager, providing Intune support, which will let them to kind of push the updates or enforce some corporate policies, compliance, and everything, right? See, the VM is ready, and then it's asking me to authenticate it. So that's what I want to demonstrate. But it also aligns with our Microsoft's modern workplace vision, where it's going to be fully cloud native, give them an option to be in a cloud first kind of thing, no dependencies, right? So then customer, you can ask me, why should I really care about this feature? It's mainly intended for organizations that want to be a cloud first or cloud only. It doesn't mean that you can't have a hybrid login. You could still have on-premise domain controllers, sync your identities with Azure AD. You could still do that. Today, in order to provision Azure Virtual Desktop, there is a dependency. That is, you need to have an on-premise domain controller, which means that you need to have either a site-to-site VPN or express route. But initially, not all customers may have an express route unless their situations demand or they're already using it. But they need to have at least a site-to-site VPN, right? And they need to have, we also need to have a line of sight. Otherwise, you can't even provision Azure Virtual Desktop. With this feature, there is essentially, you don't need any infrastructure at all. No site-to-site VPN, no express route for that matter. And then because of this, it's very, very, there higher success rate of deployment. And I'll tell you why. When you are provisioning Azure Virtual Desktop, you also need to provide on-premise domain credentials. And there is a possibility the administrators might give incorrect credentials. When that happens, and if they're provisioning tens and thousands of hundreds of VMs at a time, all those deployments might fail. And you have to go back and manually domain join them. But with the Azure AD integration, you don't have to really go through that. It's completely a frictionless experience and provisioning and managing the VMs, right? All it requires is just select this option. And I'm just going to show you. So as you could see here, I have a virtual machine that I have provisioned it, and it's by default, if you go to the Microsoft Endpoint Manager, it's Intune joined. So from here, you can set some compliance policies, or you could just push the updates, you can enroll devices and everything, right? It's as simple as that. And when it comes to provisioning the virtual machines, it's like this. You come here, it's very simple, select your resource group, whether it's you want a personal or pool desktop, select your virtual network, select your image gallery, how many virtual machines you wanted to provision. And then if you see here, this is the key. So in the past, we used to have Active Directory. So there is a possibility I might give incat credentials like this, right? And it might fail. Of course, not that people intentionally do it, but with now you could simply say Azure Active Directory. Then you could also say, do you want to enroll in Intune? It's as simple as that. And of course, you can give a local admin credentials if you wanted to. Within few minutes, the virtual machine will be ready, and you can also enroll into the Intune, which is what I did here, right? This is in public preview today, but some customers have tried it. I myself have worked with a few customers. You know, they are really singing praises about this new feature from Microsoft. Any questions so far? Okay, moving on. So the next one I wanted to touch upon is, especially in the cloud infrastructure, you have something like IaaS, PaaS, SaaS, or container as a service, or serverless as a service, and everything, right? So we have recently announced a new feature called Azure Virtual Desktop Remote App Streaming. Essentially, the way we call it is as apps as a service. But what it does is you as a customer wanted to, you developed some custom applications and you wanted to offer it to your business partners or ISVs for that matter, right? So now what you can do is you could actually expose this custom applications to your partners or your end customers. And the only difference is it's a predictable pricing is what we offered. I mean, I don't think anybody can come close to Microsoft. It's a predictable pricing. If you're offering a remote app, it's going to cost you, $5.50 per month. If you're also offering desktops as well as applications, it's $10, right? And we do have a promotional offer right now. That means it's free of charge until December 31st, but this pricing will be effective from January 1st, 2022. All you have to do is you go back to your Azure subscription and then you just enable this feature. So for example, if I were to show my Azure subscription, all you have to do is you come here, go to your Azure Virtual Desktop screen, select per user access pricing, and you just enroll your subscription. It's as simple as that, right? And this is applicable at the subscription level. So the customers could have multiple subscriptions, but they can enable this pricing at the subscription level. Okay, and the way it looks like is, for example, if you have these, if you develop these remote apps, for example, I'm just showing you these simple applications like Microsoft Edge, but the customers can develop their own custom apps and they wanted to stream this to their partners or end users. And that's where this feature really comes in handy, apps as a service. And it's predictable cost pricing right now. To adopt the promotion, we are offering it for promotion offer until December 31st. So this is where one of the newest, greatest features came from Microsoft Azure Virtual Desktop. You could, before this feature, the customers can still use these remote apps, but then the licensing is all users have to have licensing. With this remote app streaming, you don't need to really have any Microsoft licenses. You don't need to have any Microsoft 365 or E3 E5 licenses. All it requires is, enroll your external users in a separate subscription or tenant for that matter. That way you're not mixing up with your corporate users, right? And then you can take advantage of predictable pricing. Any questions? Moving on, some of the optimizations that we did was, in the past, especially if you are using personal desktops or pool desktops. And if you wanted to take advantage of these Microsoft Teams, you had to really do a bunch of things, like install these WebRTC services, which means that you also install the latest Microsoft VC++, then add a registry entry, and then if you are packaging it in a golden image, install these things in your golden image, sysprep it, and use that image to provisional host pools, right? And customers told us, oh man, this is too much a manual process for me. So we listened to the customers' feedback and we made it much simpler to them. Today, if a customer's provision a marketplace image, Microsoft Windows Enterprise administrative apps, the FS Logics is pre-installed and the media optimizations are already included and the registry entries are already there. So customers don't have to do anything at all. They are good to go. They can use FS Logics as is. It's as simple as that. All these things are done on their behalf. They'll just build their golden image, which includes their custom software, and then sysprep it, and then just use that custom image to build additional host pools. But they don't need to worry about installing the teams or installing these WebRTC director services and everything. The reason we do this is, first of all, any software works differently in the VDA environments. So that's where Azure Virtual Desktop shines very well. It's designed for Microsoft 365 optimizations as well as Microsoft Teams optimizations. So that's what we have provided in the last year or so. But now we have gone to the next level where we already pre-installed for you. You don't have to worry about installing the latest update. Anytime you install a new marketplace image, all the latest updates are taken care for you. The slide. So this is one of the. So Azure Virtual Desktop is a global service. The end users can be spread across the globe. They could be in Philippines, Asia Pac, China, or India, wherever it is, right? So when a customer starts planning and deploying Azure Virtual Desktop, we ask them to kind of understand the experience, how it's going to look like for their end users, right? So this is something that we provided out of the box these days. So if you click on this link, for example, so we now tell them. So for example, I'm based in West Coast. So for me, the latency experience is this much. But if I'm going all the way to India, for example, so my round trip latency is quite higher. So this gives an estimate to the customers how to design and plan their host pools, right? Because this includes the end user's home network, and then they connect to Microsoft's nearest edge point. From the edge point, the traffic rides on Azure Backbone. And from the Azure Backbone, it connects to their host pool. So a lot of those things come into play, right? So this tool gives an idea to the customers. Where should they provision their host pools, AVD host pools, right? To achieve a low latency to their end users. Because at the end of the day, what matters is the end user experience, especially in the VDA environments. So this is a tool that we came up with based on the customer's feedback and gives them an idea. What's my experience going to look like, right? But it also, this alone is not sufficient for customers because they need to decide where their on-premise data center is. For example, if their on-premise data center is in, for example, Americas, but if they provision a host pool in, let's say, India or China or one of the Asia Pac regions, it doesn't help. So you need to incorporate both these options in the form of Azure Global VNet Peering. But that's a design decision that customer needs to make. But the goal here is to give a guidance to the customers how to design their Azure Virtual Desktop. So this is the tool that we kind of our engineering has introduced to give a good guidance to the customers. So one other thing that we came up recently was we made a lot of changes to the pricing calculator. One of the common feedback from the customers was it sounds like a science project for me to really come up with a good estimate because earlier it used to be the default 1,000 users, but now the customers can start as low as 100 users. So when it comes to the Azure Virtual Desktop, it's a mix of compute, storage, networking. I think some of you know that. For this is equally true for any in a cloud infrastructure, right? So we now give them a breakdown of what's your virtual machine is going to look like and how much it costs for your disks. And the bottom, we will show them the price per user per month. That's where the customers would like to see from our cost calculator. So we have now incorporated these features in our Azure pricing calculators. This is a self-service tool. Customers don't need to call Microsoft. Of course, they can still call their sales specialist. We will certainly help them out. But this is another excellent service that we came up with. It's really helpful and useful to our customers. Thought I had this. Yeah. So if you see here, for example, the Azure cost calculator, you just come here, you select your, are you coming up with a personal desktop or a pool desktop? I could just come up with 100 users or 200 users for that matter. How many hours you need to keep the VM running? I just put in 220 hours, like 8 by 5, but you can always change it. And you have different options like pay as you go. But what matters is we will show them how much it's going to cost you per user per month. So for personal desktops, it's going to cost you $60. For pool desktops, these are going to cost you as low as $4 per month. Again, this is just an estimate, but at least this is a starting point for customers to make the decision calls, right? In terms of how many users, what's going to cost them. But they will also work with sales specialists and Microsoft team to come up with the right guidance. But as part of the initial offering, they will be able to go and punch in their numbers to see how it's going to look like for them if they were to consume Azure Virtual Desktop. So this is what this was missing in the past. Based on the customers' feedback, our marketing team and licensing team has made some lot of changes to this. Now they get to see the breakdown of virtual machines, the storage, and the compute. And of course, you need to make sure you punch in the appropriate egress charges, but that's what it is today.
Hi Kumar, real quick, is that number total per month 458? Is it for 100 users?
This is per user per month.
No, that is per month, but that total monthly cost 458, is it the total
Yes.
for those 100 users? Is it that like that looks like
Right.
really low cost? Is it really that low cost?
Yeah, so as I mentioned initially, that's where customers will find very cost effective, especially with our multi-session desktops. If you see here, I have selected pooled desktops, right? So we also have a personal, which is a one-on-one. This is ideal for a developer type of workloads, persistent workloads where I need local admin privileges. And if you see on the top, here I have factored in personal desktops. If you see here, these are personal. And for 100 users, it's coming up to $60. So in case of personal desktops, the user owns the VM. Once the VM is assigned to him, he owns it, he works on it. But in case of pool desktops or multi-session desktops, this is where our customers will find very cost effective. But there's always you need to the customers need to discuss with Microsoft team what kind of workloads they'll be bringing in, so that we can guide them appropriately, whether it's multi-session desktops in ideal use case for them or personal desktops, right? For example, if you're running a GPU type of workloads, machine learning or graphical workstations, we don't recommend multi-session desktops. But at the same, and again, they also need to be clear on whether it's a light workload, which is a MS Office kind of thing, or medium heavy. We have a clear guidance. What do we mean by heavy, light, and all those things, right?
Thanks. That totally makes sense. I was just still thinking about the numbers. Like even though the personal session host, those numbers for 100 users are still low as compared to virtual machines. So looks from cost side, it really looks good.
Yeah, I think that's our goal, to give more data to the customer so that they make the right decisions, right? So these are all the enhancements that we have made in the last 6 months. So I just wanted to present this to the customers and to the community so that we will be able to go back and tell the customers what's going to cost you per user per month.
Just last question, real quick. I know we are top of the hour. Is it really one session host pool, or can serve 1,000 users, or do you have to put multiple, so multiple session hosts or multiple pools? So what is the guidance?
Yeah, I'll answer that. Give me just a moment. I'll wrap this up because I know it's half hour already. So then we recently put together some sort of construction sets. Construction sets essentially gives you a specific architectural approach and reference implementation. So as you could see, this construction set is for Azure Virtual Desktop. This is similar to the cloud adoption framework where you have a separate subscription server identity for networking and the management groups and everything. And then when it comes to the Azure, whenever a customer brings in a new workload, they'll just create a new landing zone, the subscription, and if they do the VNet peering, they'll be just able to deploy their ABD workloads in their thing. And I'm going to fast track this because I know we are short of time. One other thing I wanted to mention is, sorry, yeah. So we have recently introduced Azure Virtual Desktop Certificate Specialty Exam. So if customers are interested, they should go and take advantage of it. Then we put together some nice, great Microsoft Learn tutorial so that they can just go and check this out, Azure Virtual Desktop and everything. So those are the two things I wanted to mention, but I had some more things to talk about, but I wasn't able to cover. But I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thanks, Mark. I don't see any questions in the chat window. Probably we may do another session for the advanced stuff.
Yeah, I know it's only half hour, but yeah, I had some other features to talk about it too. But yes, plan to do that. Thank you. Thanks for the opportunity.
Thank you. Thank you for delivering this session. And folks, I will upload the recording as well as the slide deck in our YouTube channel. So thank you for joining, and Kumar, thanks for presenting this, very useful, and hope to see everyone next week for another session of Azure Power Lunch. Have a wonderful day and a great weekend.
Thank you all.